Our grandson Joe was fortunate enough to draw one of the very hard to get desert antelope tags for the southeast corner of Oregon. So we've made the about 300-mile trip or 400-mile trip out to the desert to try to sneak up on one of these clever old antelope. They not only are excellent eating, we really enjoy eating antelope meat. I've never seen one that's tough, and they're just excellent eating. I've been a taxidermist most all my life, and so now I'm trying to pass it on to my grandsons, and Joe is doing good at it. He's learning it fast, so hopefully we'll get him a nice head to mount. There are a few very small towns that we go past on the way where you can get a few things you might need, and usually you can get gas there. Not always, but most of the time. Then we go up the steepest grade in the state of Oregon that has a paved highway up it. It's pretty good now, but I wouldn't want to go up this ribbon of ice in the winter, and this is pretty high elevation. It's close to 7,000 feet above sea level. The antelope tags in Oregon are all on a drawing, and Joe has put in for years for this, so he's really anxious to get on with it as we climb up this very steep grade and look over the edge. It's like flying in an airplane to look over the edge. With the changing climates, we never know where to expect the antelope. It seems like it used to be on a regular basis we'd find them out here in a little ways, but this year things are different. The water holes are dried up in some areas, and other areas there's water where there hasn't been before. The pronghorn are not really an antelope. They're a species all their own, because the book says that any animal that has a horn made out of keratin and that doesn't fork and that they don't shed the sheath off from it each year would be considered an antelope. So the antelope really aren't an antelope, they're a pronghorn. But whatever you call them, they're a very special and very beautiful animal, and they're different to hunt than most things most people hunt. And they have to have water every day, and then if they go on a big run, they need to have water afterwards. So around a water hole's a good place to find them. But we recommend people not to camp around the water holes because they'll discourage the animals from coming in and getting that all-important drink. But they have other water holes they can go to, and they know them. We find a little road that takes us off the main highway, and we're going to go out here and see if there's some antelope around the water hole, or if maybe mainly tracks around the water hole. So we're going out and check it. We find some old desert cows laying, enjoying the sunshine and just relaxing. So this means there's a water hole. We checked that water hole out, and there wasn't one single antelope track there. So we need to go find a different area. I don't know what's wrong with those antelope. They're usually always here, but this year they're not, so they're someplace. Joe is taking this hunt very seriously since he's been 15 years trying to draw a tag, and finally he's got one, and we don't want to blow it at this point, so we're going to go find us another area to hunt where hopefully we'll see some animals, or if we just see tracks, that'll be enough. Since I have hunted this area a few times before, I basically know where there's some water holes. So we go to a water hole where there's always been antelope there, and we spot a rutting herd of antelope out on a dry lake bed. And this is the first year I've ever seen this lake dry, but that doesn't seem to matter. The antelope are here, so they're watering someplace else. But since they're in the rut, they're using this lake bed to do their shoving and pushing around and do their rut things right out on the dry lake bed. So we'll find us a place to stop and go out there and set our camp up. And we're just going to sleep in a sleeping bag, a very simple camp. And so as soon as those antelope settle down a little, we'll go out there and set up our camp in a little makeshift rock blind. That's super good news. We see a small herd of antelope with at least 2 bucks in it, and one pretty nice one right in the rear of the herd. He'd be good enough. And so there's all the antelope we need there. Usually there's hundreds ahead here, but there's not this year. But we just need one nice buck antelope. Joe's the cook, so he's cooked us a nice big cantaloupe for dinner, and it was super good. So we'll have our dinner while we watch the antelope, and then when they settle down a little bit, we'll head out there, and we're going to walk about 1 mile out there from the road where there's no other road, and we can sneak on them from there. And then we had a little jar of halibut for dessert, and that was really a good meal. After dinner, it's time to get this hunt underway. So we've got our sleeping bags, and that's all we'll need. We'll carry them out there for about 1 mile and put them in a rock blind up on a hill. We go past what looks to be a food preparation thing for Stone Age man. They call it a bedrock mortar. We see the blind ahead of us, and then when we get up there, I look it over good to see if maybe it was an old Stone Age man blind. But it's not built well enough for that, so it's probably modern man that's built it. But whoever built it, we don't care, it's gonna work. We'll get our sleeping bags laid out and ready for the night, 'cause season doesn't open till tomorrow morning. And this blind was just a little bit cramped for both of us. Joe was having one of those dreams like dogs have during the night, where their feet are going just like crazy, and Joe's was doing that too, so he had a dog dream. We entertain ourselves by looking out and seeing some antelope way out in the distance, and we're hoping they'll be over here by morning. And then a big old fat coyote came trotting by. And during the night we heard coyotes howl a few times. We're tough and excited about the upcoming antelope hunt, so we're sitting in the blind here, and if there's a few rocks poking up in the middle of our back while we're trying to sleep, that's all right. It's all worth it. Joe slept one direction and I slept the other direction, and we turned in reasonably early. I found a good spot to tuck my shoes up under some of the rocks, and that night was a beauty of a night. We just had a really light night with a nice sliver of a moon and lots of stars out. It was a beauty of a night and very special to be out here in my favorite place in the world. The next morning, when the keeper of the stars woke the sun up for the morning, what a beauty of a day, a totally clear day. And so we'll take a drink of water and get the binoculars out and start looking to get this hunt underway. We're right between two fairly large lakes on a little rise between them, and they're about a mile apart, and the antelope move from one to the other. But there's a big problem this year. Both the lakes are dry, but the antelope are still here feeding on some of the little weeds that are coming up out in the lake bed. And we haven't taken time to find where they're watering, but I'm sure there's water nearby. Joe looks and looks, and pretty soon we see a small herd of them across one of the lakes, and then in a little bit he looks on the other side of the blind, and here comes a big old buck over there, and he looks like he's in the rut good, and he's probably been whipped out of the herd by a younger buck. But just the same, he's going to go over and see if he can get a quarrel going with the younger buck. At least that was his idea. Joe changed his plans a little on that. We're more or less meat hunters, so we don't really seek out the trophy bucks, but if there's one comes along, we'll go ahead and take him. And it looks like there's one coming along. And he's pretty mad, I think, because he got whipped yesterday probably. So he's going to maneuver around, and I kept telling Joe, wait, be like the wise old hunter and wait. Let him come in here a little closer. But with the modern high-powered rifles, we can take him at that distance, but it'd be better if he were to come in closer. Where I used to hunt in Montana, when I learned to hunt them, we hunted with a 30-30, and that wouldn't have worked for this, but with the modern high-powered rifle, any time's okay.
Yep.
It looks like he's chose a different route.
Oh, will you say that again, Joe?
It said it's opening morning at about 8:51 a.m. We've got a nice buck antelope down, somewhere between 400 and 500 yards.
Yeah, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's your first antelope, is it?
First antelope ever.
Yeah, well, great, yeah. We'll go over and take care of him now. Joe got a really nice buck. He's got nice big horns. Why don't you get down and hold his head up, Joe? Well, what do you think of the buck, Joe?
Oh, he's wonderful. Everything I could have ever asked for.
Yeah. He's a real nice older buck.
There's bigger bucks, but this one's mine.
Yeah.
That's the important part.
Probably not much bigger horns this year. Let's take a look at his teeth there, Joe. Let's see. Tip the head back just a little. He looks to be about 8 years old, I would guess. His teeth are kind of worn down and spread. So that's probably about 8 years old. And he's got really nice big horns.
How old is he?
There's Joe and his buck, and we shot him from the blind right straight that way. And how many yards did you say it was, Joe?
475.
475 yards. But we were going to let him move in closer, but he was heading the opposite direction, so we had to get him then or never.
Didn't seem to make much difference that he was farther off, though.
Yeah, but so he had to take a rather long shot, pretty long shot, and got him. Joe found a little mule deer antler, just a small buck that had been shed off last or this spring, I guess, unless it's a year old. Oh, it's been there a while.
It's pretty old.
Yeah. Joe's got his half an antelope on his shoulder, and so we're packing it out to get out to where we can get to it with a vehicle, and it's only about a half a mile. Some little primroses blooming here on the dry lake bed. Here's a traveling rock on this dry lake bed. It's moved and left a trail. Not far, but it left a trail. And I see some more up ahead that have done the same. Here's another rock that is frozen the ice, and then the ice moves and drags the rock along, and it leaves a trail. Our hunt is over now, and we're packing our sleeping bags out that we used to sleep in that rock blind.
Thank you for watching, and we really need subscribers bad on this channel. So thank you.